Your body and your mind are deeply connected. When you take care of one, the other improves. And today we're talking about the connection between the body and the mind. Hey, this is Dr. Dwain Woode, and welcome back to my 100-day walk to consistency. I'm glad that you're here joining me. We are on day number 65. That's right, day number 65. And I am glad that you're here because each day that you show up, each day that you put some time in, you are building a more consistent, a better version of yourself. You're building one that's more strong and someone who is more self-confident. Hey, we're putting another piece to the puzzle on this walk today in this episode. Let's go ahead. Let's start. We'll see you on the walk. So we've been talking about avoiding burnout, about managing stress, and about staying consistent and resilient. But today we're going to dive into one of the most important aspects of our health, and that is the connection between the body and the mind. Often we separate the two, and most people think that they don't have any interplay with each other, but they are very much connected. And when we are very intentional about doing what we need for the body, the mind benefits. I am on the campus of my alma mater, and I come here quite often, as you see. And right now I am walking what we call, we've got a little pavilion. There's an exercise area that's right behind me. That's where we started the video. And then right behind me, the building, that is the dorm I used to stay in when I was a student. So they've built this area up quite nicely. There's some gazebos back here behind me. And then this right here is the duck pond where we used to come and hang out. So if you were in my class or if you've been here before, that's where I am. But I thought this was a fitting place to begin our conversation about the mind and the body. Over the next week or so, we're going to be talking about several aspects of our physical health and how that plays a part in remaining consistent. One of the things I do when I do my check-in for my fasting, and we do a fast once a week, is I talk about how I'm doing physically, mentally, and emotionally. And the reason I include those three is because those are typically the places where people will have their biggest challenge. How they're doing physically, mentally, and emotionally. And when it comes to our physical body, when it comes to the muscles and the nerves and the different organs and the different glands, what goes on in our mind plays a huge part in how the body functions. One of the most interesting concepts to me was something that I didn't necessarily discover it here, but it was reinforced by an oncology colleague of mine who was on one of my shows, one of the episodes we did, and he made some interesting comments. He said that when he deals with people who have cancer, right? Then the people who tend to be in community, the people who are the ones that seem to have a satisfying life, those who are connected and who are generally happy, do better than other people. And for years, we've known in medicine the connection between the mind and the body, right? A happy spirit doeth good for the soul, right? That comes from the Bible. And we have known that when people are happy, when people are doing well in their lives, then physically they are better. And when we talk about disease processes, when we're treating someone for whatever the disease may be, those people who are more joyous tend to do better, and they recover faster and have less lasting issues. So the mind is a very powerful thing, and we want to talk about how the physical strength impacts how the mental affects the physical, and how they work together for consistency. All right, so that's what we're going to be talking about here. So why is your body and mind connected? Why are they connected? That's an interesting question. Well, your brain isn't a separate thing, right? So the brain sits in the skull, and it's connected to the brainstem, and the brainstem sends signals via nerves throughout the body, and it's connected by bones in the vertebrae, and everything kind of works together. So in physical proximity and in the physical, they are connected. But often we think of the mind as this almost ethereal thing, right? So it's this nebulous thing that's there. We don't know how it works. All we know is that I can touch and feel in the physical, and often we negate the benefits that come from the mind. But your brain, like I said, isn't separate. It's a part of you. Every system in your body is affected in some way by the brain. So if you need to go up the stairs, then your brain has to send a signal through the nerves to say, hey, I need you to contract this muscle, I need you to relax that muscle. I need you to send, and when the muscle contracts, hey, I need some calcium to come into the cell to release those muscles. I need them to contract. When you have to do that, the body needs thyroid hormone. And so thyroid hormone goes in because it is the regulator of energy in the body. When you want to go to sleep and you lay down, then your heart rate goes down, your muscles relax, you start to breathe deeply, and you fall asleep because there are hormonal changes that are going on. All of that is all of that is controlled by the brain. So there is not a separate thing that's going on, it's interconnected. What we think, what we feel, how we perform mentally, all of that is impacted by the physical. Because, if you're in pain, then you're not thinking straight. Right? If you're tired, then your thought process can be choppy, it can be inaccurate, it can be sluggish. So there is this interplay between the two, one affecting the other, and when they work well, they are working in synergy. So once again, the body is the thing that's taking us, right? It is the car that is directing us, and the brain, the mental is what's direct. Sorry, the car is driving and the brain is directing us to go left, go right. And so when we fuel the body well, that is when we eat well, when we exercise, when we get good sleep, then the brain functions better. Because there are signals that come from our food, for example, that tell our brain different signals. So there are certain foods that we eat, carbohydrates, right? Because diabetes. When we eat carbohydrates, not only do they bring calories into the body, but they also stimulate insulin. And insulin, when it's released, causes a lot of cascading effects downstream. Right? We won't get into all of that here. But suffice it to say that it's not all just about calories. It's about the signals that the foods that we eat are giving to our body. When you exercise, your mood can improve, right? Like, I hope you are finding that because you are doing your 100-day walk, that you are becoming more organized, that your mood is lighter, that you seem happier, you seem to be having more joy, because not only are you doing something physically for yourself, right? Walking, moving, getting up, but you're also finding organization, because you've got to organize to be able to walk 100 days, right? And you have to get the time to do that. And we're stimulating the mind, because guess what? Yeah, we are talking, we're walking, we are educating, right? So we're learning some stuff. So nutrition is great, exercise is great, and then of course when we sleep, the sleep impacts us because in sleep the body regenerates, it rejuvenates, and it assimilates the things that are going on through that day. So we can't neglect the physical, and we can't neglect the mental. If we do, then we're setting ourselves up for lots of hurt, right? And we do not want to do that. So let's talk about the 4 pillars then of physical health that strengthens mental resilience, right? Physical health, 4 pillars of physical health that strengthen mental resilience. And the first one, of course, is exercise, right? You know that one was coming, or at least close to the top it was going to be. So exercise is an amazing process that helps us do several things. Exercise is not just about muscle, it's not just about weight, it's not just about improving blood sugar. It's also a mental weapon. Yeah. When you exercise, you're bringing to bear strengthening the connection between brain and body, mind and body. You are affecting hormones in your body when you exercise, and you're releasing hormones that make you feel better. Endorphins, people talk about the endorphins that you get when you're exercising. You are decreasing stress. So when you exercise, you burn cortisol. Several months ago, we were going on I was doing a program. Where were we going? I think we were going to Mississippi. But anyway, so I was doing this program, and I was fasting at the time, and I noticed that I was feeling very anxious, right? And I'm like, what's going on? And I believe it was just, getting ready for this program and having to travel. But what happened was I started feeling jittery. And I was in my wife's office, and she says, why don't you go for a walk? And so I got up, went outside, walked around for about 20, 25 minutes, and I came back. And do you know that I felt better? Right? So when we exercise, we burn off the excess cortisol that comes sometimes from stress or from other things that are going on in our lives. And so exercising is a great tool that helps us. It increases our dopamine and our serotonin. Remember, those are the feel-good, those are the pleasure hormones, those are the anticipation hormones. So that dopamine is the thing that helps us enjoy, for instance, food. It helps us enjoy connection with other people. It is what provides that burst of, oh yeah, let's do that, right? So that all comes from dopamine. And when we are doing the things that we need to do in terms of exercising, then we get a dopamine burst, okay? So that's one of the things that happen. So exercise is a great way to affect our hormones, a great way to affect our brain and get a brain booster. Brain chemicals improve the mood, and when we improve the mood, we improve our focus. So now we have improvement in our performance, which also makes us feel better because we feel like we're competent. People tell us, I don't want to say they praise us, give us accolades, but they do, right? So which we all like. So that is an amazing thing that comes simply from exercising. So every 10 to 15 minutes of movement can instantly change your mood, can instantly boost your mood, and it can boost your mental clarity and your resilience. So mentation improves when we exercise. The next pillar is nutrition. Yeah. Fuel the mental aspect of your existence, fuels the body, right? So when you eat, it affects the brain and it affects the body. So we talk in my circles, there's this concept called balanced bites. So balanced bites means that every bite that we eat counts. That's the premise. And so if every bite counts, then every time I'm eating, I want to make sure that I'm giving the best signal to the brain. I'm providing the best fuel. It's kind of like when you go to the gas station and you're filling up your car. They've got the, 87, 89, and 93 octane, right? And so, well, most of us use the 87 because that's a whole nother conversation. But the theory is that the higher you go, the better the gas is, okay? And so we want to make sure that we're putting the best in our tank in terms of our energy, in terms of the food that we eat. The food that we eat directly affects the brain, and it directly affects our body and our muscles, right? Healthy fats, for example, support our cells. They support our brain functions. Healthy fats help us to stay satiated longer so that we don't have cravings. It slows the GI tract so that we once again feel fuller longer. When we eat healthy fats, it produces something called cholecystokinin, which is an enzyme in the body that sends a signal to the brain that we're full. So when we're eating healthy fats, that helps us in maintaining health, maintaining weight, maintaining satiety, and ultimately helps our metabolism. Antioxidants in certain of our foods, fruits, for example, they reduce our free radicals and they decrease inflammation. So when you're eating foods that are rich in antioxidants, vitamin C, and your fruits and vegetables that have vitamin E, all of those are supportive of decreased inflammation. So it heals the body, helps the body to function better. When we decrease our inflammation, that decreases our insulin resistance. It makes us more insulin sensitive. When we become more insulin sensitive, then the body doesn't have to produce as much insulin. When it doesn't produce that much insulin, then our appetite decreases. Our appetite decreases, our weight goes down. We can have improved blood pressure, improved cholesterol, decreased fatty liver. We can help with polycystic ovarian syndrome. We can help with immune diseases, right? So all of those are cascades simply by decreasing the inflammation in our body. And then foods that are rich in other vitamins and nutrients are very important as we think about how do we nourish the body. Eat for energy. Eat for energy, not just for taste. Now I'm going to put a pin right here and we're going to talk. Most of the functions that we have in our lives are revolving around food. When we have a birth, in fact, before the birth, when we first find out we're pregnant, we celebrate and we have food. And then we have the birth and we celebrate and we have food. And we have the christening. If you guys do that, we celebrate and we have food. And when we graduate from kindergarten, we celebrate, we have food. We graduate from middle school, we celebrate, we have food. We graduate from high school, we celebrate, we have food. We graduate from college, for sure, we celebrate and we have food. We get married. Well, before that, we get engaged. We celebrate, we have food. We get married, we celebrate, we have food. And then they get pregnant, and we celebrate, we have food. And when someone passes away, we eat food. If you want to comfort someone, you bring food over. If you want to have a business meeting, there's snacks and food. You have a conference, guess what they have in the back? Food, okay? So there's all this food that's around us. And it's not that we should not enjoy food, right? So it's not we shouldn't enjoy food, but we have to remember that every bite counts. And so as you're enjoying, you want to make sure that you're eating food that's also nutrient dense and not just calorie dense. And then sleep. The foundation of mental clarity is probably sleep. If you don't sleep, you are exhausted. When you are exhausted, then you don't think well. When you're exhausted and you go to do something physically, you have a higher likelihood of injuring yourself simply because you didn't get rest. I want you to think about that. Yeah, simply because you didn't rest well, then you can injure yourself if you didn't get any sleep. If you didn't get good sleep, then your reaction time is lower. In fact, they say someone who's sleep deprived has the reaction time of someone who might be intoxicated. If you don't sleep well, your thought process is not as clear. So it's harder for you to do calculations. It's harder for you to make complex decisions. It's harder for you to evaluate things. It's harder for you to make thoughts, right? Put your thoughts in a good, cohesive way so that other people can understand, right? So huge. And that all comes from sleep. So lack of sleep makes you more reactive rather than responsive. Right? Something happened, you just fly off the handle, as opposed to thoughtfully thinking about that thing and making giving a response. It makes you more emotional, right? So you tend to be more easily irritated, or more labile emotions, more, I don't want to say crying, but things affect you more deeply, right? Things that wouldn't normally affect you, all of a sudden they're affecting you because you didn't get good sleep. And it causes you to be mentally drained. So many of us have particular times during the day that's our best time, right? And a lot of us, it's when you've gotten a good night of sleep. So can you imagine if your best time is after sleep and your worst time is before you go back to sleep? If you have not slept, then you're basically living in that ladder where you have not just slept, you've not just woken up, you're actually needing sleep, and you're living in that space a longer and longer time, right? So that does not bode well for your thought process and your and for your health, right? Quality sleep helps process emotions, it improves problem solving, and it regulates stress. You hear that? And it revives you. It gives you energy. It allows you to rejuvenate, revive, right? So all of those are words. So protect your sleep like it's your most valuable asset. Protect your sleep like it's your most valuable asset. Because for most of us, often when I'm coaching, I'll ask people, what is one thing that you can do that will give you the biggest bang for your buck? What change could you make? And for most of us, it's getting rest. If we get better rest, then our thought process is better. If our thought process is better, then we're more efficient. If we're more efficient, we get more done. If we get more done, then we're more productive. If we're more productive, then we get advancements, we get the accolades, we get more money, right? You get the idea. Right? So many benefits that come from sleep. And then another pillar is stress management. Stress management. This one right here is where a lot of people fall down. They're getting the sleep, right? They're eating well. They're taking care of their thought process and their mentation, but they don't have good stress management techniques. And notice I say techniques, because stress management is a skill. We don't automatically get stress management skills just because. It is something that's learned. And I have a good friend of mine, who, and I talk about him all the time, who seems to be like, I don't know, he was born with stress management skills. And it is a skill to learn. It is a skill that we have to learn, and a skill that we have to develop if we're going to be successful. Because chronic stress floods your brain, makes cortisol higher, it inhibits our satiety hormone, so our heart rate goes up, we have more inflammation, we're hungrier, we're just more irritable, right? We don't have a satisfying life, because it also blunts the dopamine, like we just talked about, that hormone that makes you feel good. So chronic stress will do all those things. And so a big part of what we have to do is we have to learn how to manage stress. So best practices. What are some things that we can do for stress management? Well, one of the most important things and the simplest thing that you can do right now even is deep breathing. So when you breathe deeply, you actually are slowing your heart rate. When you breathe deeply, you're slowing the heart rate, right? It's almost like you're activating the parasympathetic system, which is that slowing mechanism in the body. Sympathetic is like, hey, let's go, let's go. Parasympathetic is like, okay, let's calm down a little bit, okay? So deep breathing. Lots of techniques. There's one I do when I do my coaching. You breathe in and you hold it. You breathe in for 4 seconds. You hold it for 7 seconds, and then you breathe out. Breathe in for 4 seconds, hold it for 7, and then you breathe out, okay? And that's one of the techniques that you can use. The other is stretching or yoga. Remember, move a muscle, change a thought. Move a muscle, change a mind. So if you are stressed, change your position. Change what you're doing. Change how things look. Change where you are. If you're sitting, stand. If you're standing, sit. If you're standing, walk around, right? Because if you do that, then you are setting yourself up for a different shift in your thought, because the body has to do something different because you are now moving. Okay, so change your position, change your thought. And then nature walks, right? Like this right now is amazing, right? Because I'm getting the fresh air, I'm out in the open, it's a beautiful campus, and this is one of those things that we don't do often. Now, I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and I was telling somebody just yesterday that being here in Alabama and being in the space where we are, it doesn't mean that, in New York they don't have any place. We just didn't live there. But it allows me to get up and go out, and I'm surrounded by this amazing view. And we'll, as I walk and do more, we'll walk around and do look at different parts of the campus. Like I said, this building that you see off there to my, let's see, that's my left, your right here on the screen. That's the dorm that I spent my sophomore, junior, and part of my senior year in. And then I moved off campus. But anyway, you get the idea. So being sure that you are doing those things. So nature walks. So your ability to manage stress, right? Your ability to manage is one of your biggest factors in your mental health, and also one of the biggest factors in your physical health as well. Okay, so you want to make sure that you're doing the things you need to do to be successful as you're walking through these pillars. Okay, let's see. So stress management, controlling stress, and an interesting point to be made here is you can't get rid of all stress. The situations are the situations. Now, you can improve some of the things that are going on in your situations, but you can't change all of it, right? And so you want to make sure that you're changing the things you can change, and you're accepting the things that have to be accepted, because if not, then you set yourself up for a world of difficulty. But you can change how you respond, right? You can change how you respond. And if you do that, then that is the blessed place that we want to be. Yeah? Is the thing you're doing helping you, or is it hurting you? You want to make sure that you're looking at all of those. So how do we build a mind-body routine that strengthens both mind and body? You ready? How do we build one? Number one, start your day with movement. Start your day with movement. Every 5 minutes of stretching or walking wakes up your brain and primes your mind for focus. So if you're doing the things you need to do, and you're starting with focus, you're starting with movement, that improves your health, improves your mind, right? That's number one. Number two, choose foods that support your brain. We talked about balanced bites, whole foods, minimize the processing, reduce the addition of sugar, healthy fats, lean proteins, appropriate portion sizes, starchy and non-starchy vegetables, and food that tastes good, right? So swap processed foods for whole foods. You want to eat nutrient-rich foods, nutrient-dense foods, not calorie-dense foods. Then prioritize sleep. Prioritize sleep. It's not a negotiable. It is a must. You've got to get good rest if you're going to be successful. Okay? Go to bed the same time each night. And there's a whole thing that we need to come back and do about sleep. And we will. And then train your mind like a muscle. Meditation, journaling, mindfulness, intentionally breathing, right? Learn those practices and just add them into your day. And if you do that, you will find that you are being successful. Now, you know, we can't ever stop our conversation without having a challenge. So let's go ahead and let's talk about your challenge for today. Make sure you grab your journal. Make sure you are ready, because we are documenting all of this, right? So number one, in your journal, you want to assess your current health habits. How are you treating yourself? Come on, come on. How are you treating your body? Is what you're doing helping? Is it the best thing for you, right? Are you getting good sleep? Are you exercising? Are you eating balanced bites? Is it helping or hurting your physical? Is it helping or hurting your mental? Number two, choose one physical health habit that you want to improve. Will it be exercise, eating healthier? Is it going to be improving your sleep routine? You want to pick one, and you want to take some action over the next 7 days, right? So you want to start doing that and just keep that going for the next 7 days. And then we always have to evaluate. Notice how your mind reacts when you are prioritizing your physical health, and journal about that. How do you feel? Do you feel better? Do you feel more energetic? Do you feel like things are going better? All right? You want to make sure that you are assessing so we can tweak and turn and make changes and pivot and all the things we need to do. All right? So that is our connection between the mind and the body. It is an amazing connection, and we can improve it if we are intentional about it. So your physical health is foundational to your mental health. When you take care of it, you can help the body to become more resilient. It can become more flexible. It can set you up for success. So you want to make sure that you're doing everything that you can to do the best job for your body and to set yourself up for success. I'm excited that you're here right now. I'm excited that you've joined me for another 100-day walk to consistency. This is Dr. Dwain Woode. Thank you for joining me. We'll see you tomorrow for day number 66. I'll see you on the walk.